Hello again, friends, and you are my friends, and welcome back to another Meet the Opposition as we build up to this weekend's game away at the London Stadium to take on West Ham United. Inside this episode, we are also covering our Survivor game, who's in, who's out, who's picked who, and of course, you need to get your Survivor pick in our comments below for this weekend, so do that right this second. If you need a reminder on how to play or who you've picked, check out the segment about halfway into the show. And we are partnered with Match Bingo. Play Match Bingo, win cash prizes. Over 18s only. Download the app however you normally download your app. £2 a bingo card. Bingo's also on there. And don't forget, each time you play, you do support the crucial work of the East Anglian Air Ambulance. Play Match Bingo, win cash prizes. Over 18s only. Be gamble aware. Right, so I kick things off with James Jones from the We Are West Ham podcast. And I asked James, 6 games in, 1 win. What's the current mood among the West Ham fans?
It's weird. There are parts of the fan base that are quite willing to be patient a little bit and like acknowledging that we're in a transitional season. And there's other corners of the fan base that are already like, get him out. He's got to go. This is ridiculous. And there's some that are sitting on the fence. It's a very weird atmosphere around the club at the moment, given the excitement of the summer and the type of transfers that we got over the line. Moyes has gone. You know, there's this positive outlook. You know, we're going to start playing a little bit better style of football, and it's going to be really good. And we look at these players we've signed. We haven't sold Kudus. We haven't sold Paqueta. It's great. And it kind of just hasn't clicked yet. And there's a little bit of impatience, admittedly, that, you know, a lot of fans expected it to kind of hit the ground running and us be challenging like we were a couple of years ago. It just hasn't. But you got to give him time. I think it's just crazy that there are some fans that want him gone already after 6 games. But it's the performances really that just there hasn't really been a discernible style of play. And that's the worrying thing.
You mentioned that window was very good. Had, you know, many fans, myself included, sort of had you as dark horses in terms of just how good of a window it had been. But it has been a transition. Why hasn't it clicked yet from your perspective? What's been the missing, the final missing piece of the jigsaw?
Well, I think Lopetegui has been experimenting a lot. He's taken some time to bed in some of the new signings. Like Todibo only made his first Premier League start last weekend at the back alongside Kilman. Kilman started every game. He's the only one that's really sort of walked straight into the team. Somerville's in and out. Fulkrug's injured already. And then Guido Rodriguez in midfield, clearly not up to the pace, really. Good on the ball, but terrible off the ball. Very slow, out of position. More suited to La Liga, where he came from. I think he's struggling with the pace. But that aside, I think not a lot of people have considered the fact that it's very difficult to get 8 new players into a team and then completely overhaul the style of football, and then also play the likes of Villa, City and Chelsea in your first 5 games and expect to come out the other side going, well, this is going to be brilliant. This is great. Thank God we made the change. It was always going to take time. And I think it's just the fact that we can't really see, you can't really see with the naked eye what Lopetegui's trying to do. It's a little bit disjointed at times. We have seen some signs here and there, but it has been quite disjointed. And that's the worrying thing, is that there aren't any signs or like sort of sustainable signs that it's going to work long term yet.
You're speaking to somebody who can sympathise, because we've made double-digit incomings, and we had Liverpool, Man City, so I can sympathise a little bit from where you're coming from. But you mentioned the new manager. He came in, he's been tasked with almost a change. Well, not almost, a change of style since David Moyes. How have things changed at West Ham in terms of how you approach games, and what will Town fans expect to see on Saturday?
Well, we are having more of the ball. We are enjoying more possession of the ball. And that was one of the frustrations under Moyes, particularly last year, where we would go into games where you'd expect us to win and be better than the opposition. Burnley at home is one that always stands out. We lined up with 10 men behind the ball, Burnley at home. And then everyone's wondering why we're 2-0 down at half time. And it's just like, this is ridiculous. Like, look at the players we've got and we're doing this. We're not doing that now. We are trying to play a little bit. We're having more shots on goal. more of the ball. Our final third play hasn't really clicked either. But you can see that, we are trying to be a little bit more positive in possession. Out of possession, it's still a little bit of a free-for-all and a bit of a shambles. But I think that will come. But yeah, you can kind of, there is a difference. It's just that the new style of play isn't tidy, so to speak. It's not it's not easy on the eye when it's supposed to be easy on the eye, if that makes sense.
There's still finer details that they're
Exactly.
obviously fine-tuning week by week, and obviously with international breaks, it's not easy. Players go off on international duty, so you've only got that week between games to fine-tune. It's what it sounds like to me. But are you a high-pressing team? Are you a team that, without the ball, is quite comfortable to go back into its shape and sit and let the opposition have that ball? And I won't call it stat padding, but certainly keep it. What sort of pressing side are you?
It's a mixture of the two, I think. There have been times this season where you can see the team are trying to press high, and but then there have been times where we've been quite happy to let the other team have the ball, and that's where it's like, 1 minute we're like, oh, this is the new West Ham under Lopetegui, and then the other minute it's like, oh, hang on, no, sure David Moyes isn't still at the club. But yeah, I think long term we will be. I think that's the ambition, is to be adaptable and be a mixture of the two. Press when you need to press, but then also kind of get into shape and sit back when you need to. And I think that will all depend on who we're playing on the day.
We are only 6 games into the season, still very early in its infancy. But Soucek is your top goal scorer. Bowen's got 1, Soucek's got 2. A whole number of other players have got 1, but Soucek currently is your top goal scorer. Is that a symptom of the start? Is that one of the major frustrations of the West Ham fans, that your midfield player, correct me if I'm wrong, your holding midfield player is top goal scorer currently? Only 6 games in, but he is. Yeah,
I think Soucek is a goal scoring midfielder. I think he scored 29 goals from midfield in the Premier League.
Wow.
Close to 40 in all competitions since he signed just before COVID. I think he was David Moyes' first signing when he came back. He is technically holding midfielder, but he's what the 2 midfielders that will go forward. He arrives in the box late. But he's
a great player. I love him.
He's great. He has had a lot of stick. A lot of people see him as like a symbol of the David Moyes era still. So a lot of people are like, oh, we still got Soucek in midfield. And you'll see on Saturday when you see him, he can't pass the ball, but he gets around the pitch a lot. He covers a lot of distance, and what he lacks in passing, he makes up in aerial ability and all the rest of it. But it is a symptom of things just not really clicking. Like I said earlier, our final third play just hasn't really got into gear. When you've got Kudus and Bowen and Antonio as a handful on his day, Fulkrug being injured, you'd expect us to be a little bit more clinical, and we haven't really been that clinical. But we've always been able to rely on Soucek to pop up when it matters most and get him all those important goals. So if he ends the season as top scorer with 10, then I'll be happy, to be fair.
Do you think it's unfair that he's sort of looked at as the David Moyes era, face of that era, and that's how some fans look at him?
Yeah, massively unfair, because, a lot of people just forget how important he has been for the club, first and foremost. But already this season, we've seen how important he can be, even outside of the David Moyes era. He came off the bench just before half time against Chelsea when we were already 2-0 down. And immediately we looked a lot better in midfield. We looked a lot tighter. We looked a lot more organised when he came in on the pitch for Rodriguez. And, that was evidence that actually, we need him in the team, really. And I think he will start this weekend as a result. So he got his goal last weekend against Brentford. I think he will start instead of Rodriguez, because he just gives us that stability.
Yeah, I was saying to you before we started, West Ham are a team. I don't want to say second team. I hate the term second team. You've got your team and that's it. But my dad supported West Ham as a boy, but we supported them right up until he moved to Suffolk. So I always look out for West Ham's results out of everybody else because of that connection. And sadly, he's no longer with us. So they're a club I look out for. And Soucek is a player that I watch on Super Sunday, etc. Having been outside the Premier League for far too long. and always thought he's a very quality player. Technically sound and gets goals, which from midfield is great to see. And obviously, when I looked at your top goal scorer stats, I didn't expect to see him top of it. But as you told me, if he finishes on top goal scorer with 10, you'll be more than happy. But who is your danger man? Who is the current? I know the final third hasn't clicked, but if Town fans have to be wary of one player, and it isn't Susek, who do you think Town fans should be wary of?
Well, there's a few really. Like Mo Kudus, when he's firing, he's very, very difficult to stop. So strong, can dribble around 4 or 5 players. Have been question marks over his final ball so far this season. He hasn't been as clinical, but he's still been his tricky, very pacey self. Just hasn't really happened for him in the final third. Jared Bowen. Everyone knows about what he can offer. Top scorer for the last couple of years and just gets better and better, to be fair. To those two in particular, but in Somerville, actually, the games that he's played in so far this season has impressed everyone. He's been very, very impressive coming from Leeds. So any one of those three, if he starts with a front line of Bowen, Kudus and Somerville, then Ipswich defenders are going to have a very busy afternoon, I think.
Hold up. Half time. You're liking the content, so give it a like. Take that thumb. Press the like button. It's totally free and it really helps the channel. And while you're there, hit the subscribe button. Help us as we march ourselves towards the 6,000 subscriber target. We are so close. So close we can almost taste it. Help us out. Hit the subscribe. Become a part of the Talking Town community. We are partnered with SolarWise Roofing and Building. Be wise this autumn and winter. Be SolarWise. Give Shane a call on 01206 628 544. Tell him the Gov at Talking Town has sent you. Roof checks available. Guttering, UBVC roofline, cladding, fascias, maintenance, repair. They do it all at SolarWise. Check out the website, solarwiseroofingandbuilding.co.uk, or give Shane a call on 01206 628 544 and tell him the Gov at Talking Town has sent you. Right. This is the moment you've all been waiting for. After 6 weeks, we are down to 14 players in our Survivor League. These are the 14. These are the teams that they have selected, so you can't choose those teams again, guys. You've got to be wise now. It's getting tight. 4 players, rather, with 2 lives, several with 1. You are welcome to play at any point. We have 2 players that are playing for fun. You can't qualify for the prizes now. This is the 14 players left remaining who will be fighting it out to be the Talking Town Survivor champion, but you can play for free, for fun. It is free. It's all free, but you can play for fun. And you can, of course, test yourself every single week. The only rule is you can only choose a team once. A home draw counts as a defeat. An away draw counts as a win. Let's see how you get on. Right. Back to James Jones from the We Are West Ham podcast. And I meet the opposition. What are your 2 centre-halves like? Are they able to contend with physical players? Because as I say, we've got Delap up front who will bring that physicality and look to run at every single opportunity. Will the West Ham backline hold up? Or are they more technical and perhaps the strongest centre-forwards in the league can impose their will on them?
Well, I think if Todibo keeps his place, which I would expect him to, given he's played well over the last 2 starts, it'll be Todibo and Kilman at the back. And Kilman's the more physical one. I think Todibo's the more technical one. And I think Kilman will probably relish that physical battle with Delap at the weekend. He's huge. I didn't actually realise how big he was until I saw him in the flesh. Massive. So I think that will be an interesting battle with Kilman and Delap. Todibo is the more wants to play with the ball on the floor. Play for Barcelona, so that's kind of drilled into him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'll be interesting. If Todibo doesn't play and it's Mavropanos instead, then you've got 2 very physical centre backs. The difference with Mavropanos is every single game he'll play well for 85 minutes and just have a brain fart for the other 5. So I'm hoping it's Todibo for that reason alone, to be fair.
And I'm hoping it's not for that reason alone, obviously. Before we get into some questions from our Discord community, score prediction for Saturday, James. What are you edging towards? I know you're a West Ham fan, but is it a West Ham win?
Yeah, well, I mean, my heart says West Ham win. My head says it has to be a West Ham win. Otherwise, more pressure goes on to Lopetegui's shoulders. We haven't won a game since the second weekend of the season, and we haven't won at home yet. So it's a huge game for us, probably bigger than we anticipated it to be at this stage. But yeah, I think it will be a tight game. We have to start well, but I think it'll be a tight game. I'm going to go 2-1 West Ham.
2-1. Okay. All right. Richard Chandler, one of our Discord members, asked, do you think you'd have started this badly under Moyes if you'd kept him, or is it a case of taking time to gel?
Like I said, it's a case of taking time to gel. I think when you look at the 4 teams that we've lost to, 3 teams we've lost to in the league, in Villa, Chelsea and Man City. I mean, most teams will lose to those 3 this season. So it's not like we've lost to like Ipswich, Southampton and Leicester, the 3 promoted teams, and then the feeling would be a little bit different. But the issue a lot of fans have had with those, with at least the Chelsea defeat, but even the draw at Fulham, which we had 95th minute, Danny Ings equaliser, is the level of performance. We were fortunate to get the point at Fulham. We were just shambles at home to Chelsea, although there were signs throughout the game that were positive. The manner in which we conceded those 3 goals was just like Sunday League. That's the problem. Fix those little issues, and we'll start seeing us pick up some results. But it is just a case of it hasn't gelled yet. But I don't think it's warranted the level of pressure that Lopetegui's been put under already.
Is there talk of a fans protest? Because Ben says, how many are involved in the fans protest?
Well, if it's the protest I'm thinking of, I mean, it feels like over the last 5 years, there's been a protest every week. West Ham fans are constantly moaning about something. But this, I think, if it's the one I'm thinking about, is regarding ticket prices and the removal of concessions for season tickets for young people and the elderly and disabled, just completely removing those price points.
Are they?
They did at the beginning of the season. So it was like, if I wanted to take my 4-year-old son, I'd have to buy him at technically the same price of an adult ticket. And if I was 66 or over, I'd have to pay full price for an adult ticket. Right. But those, if you wanted to pay the cheaper ones, you get put up right up in the gods, and there's like 1,000 seats available at that price.
Okay.
So there has been protests. The club has backtracked with the last couple of home games, including this one, I believe. They have started putting concession prices back in, but they haven't changed it for the season tickets from next season, which is now what the protest is about. And as far as I'm aware, everyone's involved. And the protest is black balloons. You'll see it. There's black balloons everywhere. So I don't know. I haven't heard of any additional protests.
No,
but it could be. I don't know. It could be.
Fair enough. David says, or asks rather, where do you think West Ham will finish, and where do you think Ipswich will finish this season?
Let's start with Ipswich on that. I think as soon as you get your first win, I think that will kind of elevate Ipswich. I think I've seen you a few times this season, and I've been quite impressed. I watched the majority of the Villa game, and matched Villa. I think for a lot of the game, I think Villa, Villa were good in the second half. I thought Ipswich played very well, deserved the point, and I think get your first win and then you're away. I think Ipswich has enough to stay up, but there are so many teams in and around there that could slip into it and could, it's going to be tight. That bottom half of the table will be tight for the whole season, I think. But I think Ipswich are good enough to stay up.
Thank you.
For West Ham, I said at the beginning of the season, mid-table would be fine, given it's a transitional season. Do not expect us for a minute to be competing for Europe again, not this year. But the expectation is that, beyond this year, we would expect to be back in that conversation. But this year, given the level of change and the level of transition, 9th, 10th, maybe even 11th. I'd like top half, but you have to be realistic and just go mid-table. What that means, where that is in mid-table, I don't really care as long as it's not relegation.
Has it taken longer, just as a final question, has it taken longer than you perhaps thought it would do to settle in and get up and running? Or are you, roughly where you thought you'd be, having had the window, being in transition, a new manager, a new group of players, as you say, 8 players, where's your thoughts on it personally?
It's difficult to say. I mean, if you actually look at the results we've had against the teams that we've played, I don't think there's a shock result in there. Beating
I agree with
Palace.
that.
I mean, we lost to Palace away last year 5-2. Beat them this season 2-0 at Sellers Park. Last year we lost at Craven Cottage 5-0 and drew with Fulham at Craven Cottage 1-1. So we've improved on those 2 away games already. And we would have looked at Villa, City and Chelsea at home and gone, they're 3 tough opening home fixtures. And, if we get a point out of those 3, I think we'll be happy. We didn't, but we got the wins at Palace and Fulham and Brentford. We haven't won at Brentford since they were promoted. So I don't think you can look at it and go, "Oh, that was a bad result," or "That was a shock." Didn't expect that result. I think on paper we were probably around where we expected to be after 6 games. The difference is the level of performance, and that's where the improvement needs to come.
And I'm sure that will come, but hopefully not this Saturday. James, let everyone know where they can find your podcast, the name of the podcast. I've done it in the intro already, but just remind people where they can find you, wherever that may be.
Yeah, we are Wearewestham Podcast. We're on all the platforms, audio, and we're on YouTube as well, Spotify, Apple, you name it, we're on it. Twitter, on X or Twitter or whatever Elon's calling it at the moment. We are _West Ham, and you can get me personally. If you want to hear me drunkenly tweeting bad things about West Ham at the weekend, it's at BY James Jones. It's actually on the screen. I've just seen it on the screen. So,
wow, what a brilliant conversation. What a brilliant show. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, James, from the We Are West Ham podcast. Go and find We Are West Ham wherever you normally get your podcasts. Check out James on Twitter. You've obviously enjoyed the show because you're still here. Thank you for staying with us till the end. Hit the like, subscribe for free. Help us as we march towards 6,000 subscribers. If you want to go one step further and support the platform, please do so. $4.99. Cancel at any point. You get access to our Discord. That's 24/7 365 ITFC chat in a brilliant community of members that are the Talking Town community. And of course, you can put future questions to future Meet the Opposition fans by using our Discord. We are partnered with Staymarket Osteopaths. Give Freddie a call. Tell him the Gov at Talking Town has sent you. 01449 613 633. That's 01449 613 633. Don't live life in pain. I'm desperately trying not to. I've been twice this week and twice he has helped me. So a huge shout out to Freddie, Staymarket Osteopaths, and of course our Survivor. If you're one of those 14 players still in our Survivor, don't miss a week. Get your Survivor pick in right now, even if you've never played before. And you think, you know what, I'm going to test myself from this point on against those 14 players. Do it. Get your pick in for this week in our comments. And we are back live Friday, 8 p.m. with our own ITFC match preview, where we focus purely and solely on our football club, the greatest club in the world, Ipswich Town. Thank you for watching. Thanks for being with me to the end. Have a great week.